One of the main themes of Medea is marriage, more specifically, dysfunctional marriage. The plot of the play is basically the breakdown of Jason and Medea's oikos. It starts with the event that kickstarts this breakdown, Jason setting Medea aside for the Princess of Corinth, and ends with the total and irreversible destruction of the oikos and their marriage, with Medea murdering their children and flying off to Athens. The first speech that we hear from Medea on the stage is one about the married life of women. She talks about how precarious and unfair their position is. She says, "Of all creatures that have breath and sensation, we women are the most unfortunate. When a woman comes into the new custom and practices of her husband's house, she must somehow divine, since she has not learnt it at home, how she shall best deal with her husband. If after we have spent great efforts on these tasks, our husbands live with us without resenting the marriage yoke, our life is enviable. Otherwise, death is preferable." The story of Jason and Medea's marriage can be seen as a dramatization of the general process of marriage for Athenian women. Medea's journey to Iolcus and then Corinth as Jason's wife is a large spatial metaphor for the journey of a married woman. The cutting of natal family ties, moving to a foreign household, and in Medea's case foreign land as well, and adjusting to that household and land. Her character and story also exaggerate the idea that women were forced to cut all ties with their birth family upon marriage, because this is literally true for her. She killed her brother on her way out of Colchis, so she can never return. Despite the atypical nature of her marriage, the nature of Jason's and Medea's union is not questioned by other characters in the play. Medea's most notable supporter is the Athenian king Agis, because his support implies that the Athenian audience would also have seen Medea's complaints as valid. Furthermore, it is also worth noting that despite the abnormal beginning of her marriage, during the majority of their marital life, Medea has been an ideal wife to Jason by staying loyal to him in exile and giving him heirs. All of this is why Medea's speech about the woes of married women would have gained the sympathy of the Athenian audience just as much as it gained the sympathy of the chorus within the play. It is even possible that her anxiety and Euripides' portrayal of her anger at Jason's deeds might have stemmed from pre-existing awareness in Athens about the problems faced by women in their marital life. However, it is notable that despite her appeal to ordinary women in her first speech, Medea herself is not an ordinary woman. Despite her complaints at Jason's betrayal being valid, her marriage was by no means a normal one. One of the reasons for this was her fratricide on her way out of Colchis with Jason. This adds to her desperation and anger upon Jason's betrayal because, unlike a normal divorce, Medea cannot now return to her family home, and she has no male relatives to protect her and shelter her. This lack of male support in Medea's life leads to another important reason why her marriage is not normal. Medea's marriage to Jason wasn't arranged by her father, but by herself. And she gave herself away as well. We can see this when she recalls Jason's oaths to her. She says to him, "Respect for your oaths is gone, and I cannot tell whether you think that the gods of old no longer rule or that new ordinances have now been set up for mortals, since you are surely aware that you have not kept your oaths to me." In this scene, she refers to oaths that would have traditionally been made between two Greek men, and by doing so, in the matter of her marriage, she places herself in two masculine roles, that of an equal participant in a formal relationship of philia, and that of her own kurios, who would have typically been her father or some male relative who gives away her hand in marriage. Medea, like many other female heroines in Greek tragedy, walks a fine line between masculinity and femininity. But more importantly for this theme of dysfunctional marriages, Medea's situation is abnormal because, unlike a normal Athenian wife, Medea cannot return to her father's house when mistreated or put aside by her husband. This stresses the enormity of Jason's betrayal. He has well and truly left her with nothing. This also emphasizes the fact that, although their marriage was anomalous and problematic from the start, its ultimate breakdown is Jason's responsibility. And for Medea, this justifies her not only killing the princess, but also killing her and Jason's sons. Because by killing the children, she completes the breakdown of the oikos that Jason began. Medea's justification for killing her children is linked to the goals of the institution of marriage in classical Greece. At its most fundamental level, the purpose of marriage was to create children for the continuation of the household. It can also be said that marriage existed because Greek men viewed Greek women as more susceptible to sexual desire, and marriage was supposed to domesticate the power that divinities such as Aphrodite and Eros had over women. When the play ends, Medea has completely destroyed both these sides of the institution of marriage through her filicide and her deification. Furthermore, Medea doesn't just destroy her own household, she also destroys Creon's and her son's future potential households as well. And the destruction of her natal household is also a background theme. Overall, Medea's character is seen as a destructive, sort of uncivilizing and undomesticating force, which subverts the traditional role of Athenian wives to remain in the private sphere and uphold the oikos. Her final role as a dea ex machina shows a power beyond Jason's or anyone's control, a power that is always there, simmering away in a patriarchal culture that treats women as outsiders, yet requires them for its own perpetuation. Thank you for listening.